Welcome to Flex Factor with Marc Navarro, the podcast that cuts through the noise to bring you the best strategies and insights in the co-working world. Produced by Spacebring. Let's dive in.
Perdón, te he chafado la entrada. Dale.
No, está bien. Hi,
Así te
welcome
relajas.
to another episode of the Flex Factor podcast. Yeah, I mean, it's the roughest started ever, but it's the funniest ever. I'm here with a colleague and friend, but we only see each other in conferences with Maria Montis. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Marc. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, running up and down and doing stuff, interesting stuff these days. We just met each other last week in a conference. Now back to Barcelona, and yeah, it's super exciting to have you here. For all the people that don't know Maria, Maria entered in the co-working industry in 2017. Just before the acquisition of Loom by Merlin Properties. Maria will talk about that later for the people who don't know who Loom is or who Merlin Properties as a company. And before that, you took care of sponsorships at the Teatro Real, the Royal Theatre in Madrid.
That's right.
And before that, you have a really strong background in law. I knew you were a lawyer, but I was surprised by how important is that background. How
Definitely.
you ended up in co-working?
As many things happen in life just by chance. I was working in a temporary project at the Teatro Real, the opera house in Madrid. And yeah, I met this colleague of mine from school who was setting up this co-working industry. I didn't even know how to pronounce the name co-working. I was absolutely unfamiliar with this industry before. And yes, she called me because she needed someone, let's say it in one word, fully reliable to set up her company, her startup in the co-working business. And this is when I joined June 2017, when I joined Loom. At that point, Loom was owned basically by the founders and 20% by Merlin Properties, who was in some time destined to acquire the whole of the company. So yeah, I joined it with very happily because I like starting in new sectors, new industries, and if possible, being part of the evolution of the company and of the sector, which is what I have experienced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you had in that legal background you had experience in some positions in banking, but also in real estate. So you were familiar with real estate.
I was a lawyer in ING Real Estate, which is the real estate part of ING, the ING Bank, the Dutch bank. Here in Spain, and those were almost 10 years. And then also I was the head of legal of ING corporate business. So yes, I had a strong background, but then at that time I needed to change to something different.
Yeah, don't mess with Maria, right?
You better not.
Yeah, okay. I will take that into consideration. Can you briefly explain what's Loom and what's Merlin Property so the people can understand what you are running right now as a Chief Operations Officer?
So Loom is the flexible space of or the brand of flexible space within the company Merlin Properties. Merlin Properties, to start from up to bottom, is the first real estate company in Spain. It runs business in commercial, malls, shopping centers, offices, logistics, and data centers. So it's a huge company. And within the area of offices, there is this flexible space brand, which is Loom. This is where I work. And we have 15 co-working spaces in Spain. That's Madrid and Barcelona, basically Madrid, where we have 11 of them. The rest is in Barcelona. And we are widening our scope to other cities like Valencia, Malaga, Lisboa. Yes, and those are our plans for the future.
Okay, you just spoiled one question, but yeah, it's super interesting how Spanish operators, it's I mean, some of them do, some of them don't, but it seems that the playbook it's Madrid Barcelona or Barcelona Madrid, depending on where the company started, then Valencia Malaga, and then Lisbon. It's quite interesting.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was thinking. I was thinking. The question maybe it's not very politically correct, but Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Malaga. There's no more business in Spain. That all the spaces jump to Lisbon. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that we in Loom have a very specific guidelines or plans within the company of Merlin. I mean, we normally tend to grow where there is already a footprint of Merlin Properties, right? So Merlin Properties basically, works in Spain and Portugal. This explains our expansion to Lisbon, and in other cities, for example, like in Malaga or Valencia, what we do is that normally we go, as we do in Madrid or Barcelona, we operate spaces within a Merlin building, either 100% owned by Merlin or within a joint venture with a local company there, right? But this is the way we expand. We just don't say, okay, let's move to Vigo, La Coruña, which are wonderful cities as well. No, if Merlin does not have a footprint there, we tend to look to other possibilities where there is a Merlin presence.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Yeah, I was being a little bit spicy in this sense because there are other operators which are not related to any real estate company and do not have this reason behind. Also follow the same footprint. But it's interesting this trend in like many operators are looking for management contracts, and then you have in Spain basically two operators, Loom and Utopicus, that are owned by real estates, and you follow a different strategy, which absolutely makes sense, right? Because
completely a different strategy. We are in so to speak. We are following our parents' guidelines. So we go where they go, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I was curious, and I invited you because I like to provide understanding for people that joined the industry a few years ago to understand how things change, because co-working it was not the same when you joined the industry than what is now, and of course Loom is not the same when you join the industry than now. And I was thinking how the industry changed from 2017 to 2025. What changed in these 8 years?
A lot of things have changed. I mean, the industry that I met when I first joined the co-working industry, of course, not only in size, which was much smaller than now, there were not so many operators, so there was less concurrency in that sense. The knowledge of the product itself in the real estate world was very little, and to some extent it was seen as a kind of cool sector, but not to be taken too much seriously in that sense in those years. Now I think the co-working sector is a real player. I think the real estate sector in general takes the co-working sector much more serious than they did before. This has all been a process. I mean, we are growing and growing. It's true we may have like 2%, 3% of the offices sector or the square meters that are being rented in the big cities, but still it's a market that has a potential of growth, which is very interesting to look at. And then going into more detail, of course, with this growth, what has come in parallel is the professionalization, if I said it correctly, of this business, right? Before it was kind of a game for those who were just trying to see if this works or not. Now, of course, there is a lot of competence in the or competitiveness in the sector. We really need to be always up to speed in regard your competence, and you really need to bring in a lot of technology to be more and more efficient every day, right? It's not a choice anymore. I mean, you need to have a professional staff, professional technology that is easy to be scaled up every time. And what is for sure, what I learned in this 8 years is what worked maybe 2 years ago may not work anymore. I mean, the changes are very, very fast. If it's of any help for your listeners, I have changed my own processes and my own technology several times within these 8 years, because as I mentioned, what was perfect, what was perfectly working 3 years ago may not work anymore as you grow and grow, and you have to implement different processes that are much more effective and easily changed and updated.
And on the other hand, I guess that the requirements that you get from your clients as the industry matured and attracted more and more premium clients skyrocketed.
Absolutely, this is another key issue that I forgot to mention. Thank you. The client has changed very much. It's not really that the client has changed, but to be more specific, we have added a new type of clients to what we had before. In the beginning, we only had freelancers and small companies, small startups that were ready to try this new model, to this new business model of the usage of space. But now big corporations are taking this option very seriously. We have very huge companies within Loom. I can't say the names because it's public. We have as clients big corporations such as Microsoft, Pepsi, and others of this volume. So it's not for startups anymore. It still is, but we have added this new layer of corporate companies that are also willing to use the advantages that flexible offices offer, right? Because there are a lot of economic and financial advantages for companies when using this type of space.
I really like how you frame it because many people, when talking about the kind of clients that coworking currently have, forget that the fact is, and this is why I love how you frame it, is that the growth of the industry came because of the new client. The old client is still there. And I used to have this discussion with a lot of people in maybe 2018, 2017, 2019. And I was like, all the freelancers, all the small, medium companies that have to be there are already there. So the people that keeps making the industry grow, that is making the industry grow, it's new companies, bigger size, different mindset, that now the coworking is evolving and they realize that it can be an option, and in many cases it's a much better option than the one that they used to have.
Definitely, and this is what linking with what I said before. The corporate client, of course, has specific requirements, and it's a very high level client, and you have to respond to that, to those demands of a very VIP client, very corporate. So what may be happening, or what can happen, is that maybe if you have different types of co-workings, the corporate ones may be ready to go to a very high-end co-working space, but it's still perfectly compatible with other type of co-workings, maybe not in the business district center, other type of co-workings that may still have this startup client, freelancers, and things of that kind. So I think that in that sense, what we see is that the market is widening to different types of client and different types of product of offer within that sector, within the co-working.
On different kinds of budgets.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we are at the right point to ask this question. Which are the operational challenges that we have then with that kind of client and that technology and a less fierce competition? And now?
I think the main operational challenges are, in my humble opinion, of course, from my experience, is to once you set up your own policies, your own processes to be able to respond to the highest demand or to the highest level of this corporate clients, to be able to maintain consistency as you grow. It is, as I mentioned, things happen. Things change every 2 or 3 years. You have to rephrase maybe your policies or revisit what you set up 2 years ago. And to maintain this consistency in the type of service that you want to give your clients, whether corporate or freelancers, and to be very consistent as you grow, and to maintain the same level of services in every premise that you run. This is a real operational challenge, especially with the rotation of staff that I think we are all facing in the sector, right? Especially that staff that is facing the client, for example, the hosts in the spaces. They are the visible face, so to speak, to the client. They are the ones who render the service directly to the client. Their position is key to the perception of the quality that the client receives, and yet there is a lot of rotation in that position normally, because of just normally young people. They want to move on to somewhere else. They stay with you maybe 2 years, 2.5 years. So to maintain the consistency of the training of all your staff, besides the rotation, I think this is one of the key challenges that we are facing in all the sector of co-working.
You're the first co-working, no matter what position, that you are talking so openly and so upfront about this.
This podcast is proudly brought to you by Spacebring, your fast track to co-working space management.
It's a key position. There's a lot of rotation. What are we as an industry? I'm not talking specifically about Loom. I'm talking about the industry. What are we doing wrong? Or it's just how it should be. It's a position that people is supposed to be there for a short period of time and then move on.
I wouldn't put it that way. I don't think it's that what we are doing wrong in that sense, because the positions are what they are. I think it's by the way, I think it's a beautiful position if you have some if you're devoted to a client, this vocation of service. I think it's something beautiful. We see it also in the hotel industry, and it's really marvelous. But sometimes it's not that easy to find people who have that view. I mean, we are here to attend the client, to take care of our client, and to give them what they need in their everyday staying in our spaces. But I think it has much more to do with young people not being ready to stay in their job more than 2 years. I mean, I think this is more a question of they want to try new things. They want to move, whatever the job is. It's not because they are hosts, but they want to try other things. They want to move forward, which is okay. But of course, it has a downside for the type of service that we want to give. So how we deal with that, that's a tough question. I don't have a crystal ball. I try many things within our company, but I think this problem is common to, or this challenge, let's say, it's common to every operator, as I have spoken with many of them, and I think I'm one of the persons within the sector who puts more relevance or much more attention in this topic, because I think at the end of the day, when you speak with the client, it's key for their satisfaction in the place. So I think this is something we have to, attend and take very, very seriously. Of course, the price plays a big role, but if the client is not happy with the service, you may have a problem there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, and I didn't plan this, but I have to say that I visited some spaces with you, and that care for the people, it's something that I could perceive. So, and we'd never talk about this before, but when you said I really care about the people and I'm really on top of that, I remember, I think it was maybe 2 years ago that we visited Plaza Catalunya, the location you have there, how you address to the staff, etc. I thought, like, nice. This is how I would like to be addressed if I was working there. So it's nice because sometimes we only focus about the bad things and we don't tell each other the nice things. And yeah, it's a good opportunity to tell you. It was really nice and it makes sense. I mean, I know you for a long time. I know who you are, but it's nice that the people knows that you are not saying this because you are in this podcast discussing about this topic, but you are really like that. So I'm not anyone, but in the name of all the co-working workers, thank you, because I would work for you. I think that's the most beautiful compliment at the end. If you're a boss, like the people like how you are treated and be willing to work with someone with that view. And I agree, this is a huge challenge for the industry, how we do that. And this is why I was like, oh, maybe it have to be something, like that. It's a position that it's a position for 1 year, 2 years. But on the other hand, in the old days, as the co-working industry was growing that fast, and it was not clear what was the game, right? It was like we were playing, but we don't know exactly the rules. There were a lot of opportunities to grow within the company. Is this something which happens still or not?
Yes. I mean, Loom, although within Merlin Properties, Loom is still a small company. I'm talking of my own of Loom personal case. There have been already at least 12 or 15 hosts in the history of Loom that have been, so to speak, upgraded to the central team in one way or the other. Either in Loom, most of them, maybe to the marketing team, maybe to the commercial team, or to the events team, which they really like a lot. This is something, by the way, I'm always very curious about. Everyone wants to be in the events department. I don't know, it's because they think they're going to be all day long partying, which is wrong, by the way, whoever listens to this podcast. This is not the way to look at it. But yes, we've been able to upgrade like 12, I don't know, it's 12 or 15 hosts with all the history of Loom since 2017 to the central team. I mean, this is something that can happen. It's a kind of a career plan, but we cannot promise it to everyone because it's like a pyramid. I mean, the base is wider. Not everyone can scale in that sense, but it happens. It happens. And if you show devotion, if you show proactivity, we see these things, and we want to reward whenever there is a position or a possibility, which might happen once or twice a year. We really spot the hosts that are more committed to the company, and we try to give them an opportunity.
Yeah, that's super nice because every time it's a more specialized job, but it's also nice that you can take the talent that really knows the geek.
Sure. This is something I'm very fond of because it's very nice to see someone that you once met in a how do you say
front desk
selection process. You pick this person up, you train this host, it stays for you 2 years, stays with you 2 years, and then there's this opportunity comes up to enable that this person can have a career plan within Loom or within Merlin. For me, is personally probably it's an honor to give that person the possibility to grow. And it's also very funny to observe how they changed mindset from being a local host with their local problems and probably their local complaints against the central team, so to speak. When they change their role and they come up with me to the central team, they come to me and say, Maria, now I understand many things that happened, and why you said the things you were saying, right? It's how they change the mindset just because you enable them to work in the central team. It's kind of funny to
This
observe.
sounded proud. Yeah, this sounded proud and funny at the same time.
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
cool.
it makes me to give that opportunity for me. It makes me feel proud and I think it's a gift for both of us, for the host that can scale up,
Absolutely.
and for me to give the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that when you are trying to manage a staff or you have a central team, it's important that at least, I mean, there are very specific positions that maybe it's not possible, but for other positions to have people that understand what's going on, and what the other part of the team that is in front of the client and it's dealing with things firsthand, right? That solve a lot of issues. I think it removes a lot of friction, and that also might explain why your host stays for longer than other
Sure.
for the time that you're mentioning than other companies in the industry. So
Sure.
that's nice.
Sorry, I was thinking about it to give you some very specific examples. One of the persons in the marketing department, the design and marketing department, who has studied design and audio visual technologies, is now working in the marketing department, designing every piece of whatever videos, audios. She's delighted. Two persons now joining the facility departments in Loom were previously host. They are delighted to have that opportunity. The person who is leading all the agenda within Loom, everything that happens, the breakfast, the afterworks, whatever, was a previous host as well. So it's great to be able to give them the opportunity.
Actually, you made me think in a Argentinian operator, La Maquinita, that I met one of the owners back in 2019, and he mentioned that they hired some architects for front desk positions because they were much more interested in keeping the building nice and understanding when there was something wrong, they can understand the ways to fix it much faster. So they usually have maybe one in each building, so that person can move to a different position in the company when the company kept growing. And I found it super interesting, and it's also nice that you mentioned the marketing, because we used to have many years ago a host that was promoted to marketing team, and after that actually she left the company to create her own company with many clients inside the space, and was still working for the space after that. So yeah, that's nice. So let's change subject from staff, although it's one of my favorite topics. And I would like to ask you one last question. What do you think, besides staff, is the next challenge for the industry?
Well, one of them clearly will be the profitability economics in general. I mean, there is a fierce competition. Client is more and more sophisticated, demanding. Sometimes it's kind of interesting or funny. You take the word you like, to see the same client asking for different budgets within the 3 or 4 operators every time the same. So there's quite a fierce competition, which is good. but it's always a challenge to be up to speed. And also finding good locations in the center of the city, which is not always that easy. I mean, it's for us, for example, it's very hard to find good locations in new cities where Merlin does not have a footprint yet. I think this is also quite a challenge. From the operational point of view, I think the challenge will remain the one I mentioned, keeping consistency and exceptional operations, containing costs, which is essential as well for the profitability of the industry. Containing costs, but at the same time balancing this with the quality of services you give to the clients. And yeah, also from the operational point of view, I think it's always a challenge to keep the client satisfied, because client in general, or we human beings, tend to be picky, and it's very sometimes it's quite a challenge to keep up with their own requirements and desires. And I will give you a very very good example, which is from a kind of minor example from the day to day. We have changed the quality of our coffee for about 5 times already in this 2 or 3 years. You have a client that loves this type of Colombian coffee. The other one says this is disgusting. Then you change everything with the supplier. You put another type of coffee. No, we don't want this one. We want the other one. This is a very probably stupid example, but it illustrates that from the operational point of view, you need to be ready to be changing every time to really try to satisfy at least the majority of your clients. You will never have the 100% of your clients satisfied with one of the, let's say, supplies of coffee, for example. But you need to be ready to be in the continuous search of perfection, so to speak, although you will never reach it. But this is part of our job, to look for the full satisfaction of the majority of our clients, which is a real challenge.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know who's the phrase, but I heard a long time ago that if you try to satisfy everyone, you will actually fail to satisfy everyone, right? So I think it's better not to try. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. But before leaving, I would like to ask you a question. Just a phrase, a wish for the industry. No, not a challenge, not anything, just a wish. What do you wish for the future of the industry?
What do I wish? To take the co-working sector to a next level, maybe to a higher percentage within the offices industry. I think this is where we all need to work at. I'm sure there is demand. I'm sure we can still grow in that sense and expand. And I would like to see, I mean, like the phrase, I had a dream, like a lot of many more co-workings in not only bigger cities, but also in smaller ones, to open this service and this product to every city or medium city in the world. I think it's fantastic. It's a place where people meet. It's a place where people can grow, exchange knowledge. I think it's positive in general for the society.
There's no better way to end this episode. Thank you so much, Maria. I hope that your wish comes true.
I hope so too. Let's work on it. Thank you very much, Marc.
Thank you very much for participating in the Flex Factor podcast, and for all of you listening to this podcast. To this podcast. Oh my God, this is not our day today. I'm delighted that you are here listening until the very end, and let's see each other next month. Bye.